agreed in a sort of have actually agreed to join today's program in a very short notice. First of all, let me say a few words about this particular event. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. So, first of all, Gandhi Study Circle is organizing this event with the Department of Political Science and IQAC of the college. This is part of the concluding activities, academic activities of the Delhi University and Shyamlal College. That is in the context of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. So after 15th, we'll be starting a different kind of program. We have with us three speakers. Let me introduce them first. First of all, we have with us Professor Shantesh Kumar Singh, who is at present professor in the Department of Political Science in Central University of Haryana, Mahendragarh. He is one of the vocal academician and quite active in his research and other various national level academic activities. To say a few words about him, he was educated at Jawaharlal Nehru University. He earned his MPhil PhD from Jawaharlal Nehru University in the School of International Studies. And he earned his postdoctoral degree from United Nations University at Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. And he is also the managing editor of a very important journal, that is the Journal for National Security and Terrorism, being published out of Helsinki in Finland. He is also associated with various other institutions like adjunct fellow and associate editor, Southeast Asia Northeast International Association for Counter-Terrorism, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. He is also, a known academic. He has published widely in various journals and also in terms of many books. Two recent ones are Non-Traditional Security Concerns in India, Issues and Challenges, published by Belgrave Macmillan. And the second one is Emerging Trend in India's Foreign Policy. These are two of his very important academic contributions, besides his membership in various institutions and academic bodies. The second speaker we have, we are very fortunate that he agreed to join us in a short notice, and he has been very benevolent for all of us, because he has been with us in the last many years. He is ready to contribute to our department and our college in many ways. He has been participant in various academic activities and seminar in our college previously also. So Professor Sandeep Tundurwar is an associate professor at the Department of Political Science at Sri Binjagi City College, Nagpur, under Nagpur University. He has wide experience as teaching experience at the undergraduate and postgraduate level. Besides guiding numerous PhD and MPhil scholars and and contributing in many ways for curriculum development of various university in the state of Maharashtra and outside Maharashtra. He's also a member as a member of board of studies at various universities in Maharashtra, and he has been continuing and contributing to the academics in various capacities in Nagpur University. He has also contributed in terms of research output as research director funded by various organizations like ICSSR, UGC, etc. And he is also the founder member and secretary of the Dr. M.V. Pasve Social Research Institute, Yavatmal, that is in Maharashtra. So we are very fortunate that he's also with us today to share his thoughts on today's topic. I think so. Many of our dignitaries will join later on. So I think I should start the program. And should we begin with Professor Shantesh Kumar saying to share his thoughts on today's topic, that is particularly the role of India as chairperson of G20, and in what ways India can actually contribute to global peace, nonviolence, and equitous development across the globe. So, with your permission, I would like to invite Professor Shantesh Singh, Professor Singh to present his thoughts. Professor Singh.
Thank you, Sitaram ji, thank you. सबसे पहले आप सभी लोग को नमस्कार, and definitely I'll share my ideas and my views on the topic which you have already described briefly, and this is one of the important topic nowadays. We are listening, we are hearing from media and from here and there. We are getting a lot of news related to G20 meetings and talks, summits, groups, these kind of news, every time, every moment we're getting nowadays. In last 1 year, this is what happening in every corner of India, like south, east, west, north, everywhere you can find in G20. What is G20? Why we are so much focused on G20 nowadays? These are the questions we have to think about. These are the things we have to discuss with our students so that the students could get a better understanding of the topic, right? तो मुझे लगता है कि हम लोग को, मैं अपने पूरे प्रेजेंटेशन को ऐसे रखने की कोशिश करूंगा, since I have been part of this university for a longer time as a faculty in Shahid Bhagat Singh College, almost 12 years I was there, so I can understand कि बच्चे भी जुड़े होंगे, definitely I am 100% sure. तो ऐसा हो कि बच्चों को अंडरस्टैंडिंग डेवलप हो what G20 is all about, और G20 में इंडिया कैसे रोल प्ले कर रहा है, इंडिया किस तरफ जा रहा है, what is direction of इंडिया G20 presidency, और कहाँ लेके जाना चाहते हैं, what are the objectives India want to achieve through this G20 presidency period, तो एक important है. लेकिन before starting my topic, I would like to thank Shyamlal College for inviting me, particularly Sitaram ji. Thank you so much for providing me this platform to share my ideas on very important topic. And definitely I would like to thank the principal of the college, who have been faculty of Shahid Bhagat Singh College evening since I was part of morning, but we have never treated these two colleges separate entities. So Ravi Narayankar sir, I would like to extend my hearty thanks to him too. And definitely I would like to thanks to all of the stakeholders of Shyamlal College for providing this opportunity to share my ideas on very relevant topic. And Yeah, this is important topic, as you have already mentioned. Why that is important? Before going to that, why that is important from Indian perspective? Before going to that, I would like to focus on the basic, idea of G20. What G20 is, because a lot of people talk like G20 is an organization, institution, a group. What is this? It's basically intergovernmental forum. This is what we have to understand. This is not an association. This is not an organization. First distinction we have to be very careful while we're talking about G20. This is not something like other regional organizations or global institutions or global governance kind of institutions. It's quite different. It's a simple intergovernmental forum of the world's major developed and developing countries. It comprises 19 countries. We are talking about 20 members. Why there are 20? Only 19 countries are part of this. One association, regional association, is also member of this G20 group. This is what we have to note here. We have to understand, and that is European Union. That is only group, regional association, which is part of G20. Rest 19 are countries, but one group is there. That's why it's known as Intergovernmental Forum of basically G20 countries on one regional association, and the regional association is European Union. And those 19 countries, I don't need that I don't need to explain all those names of 19 countries. Maybe you can Google, you can get it from Google. But that is what we need to know is, like, this is the group which represent every corner of the world. I mean, almost all continent is being represented in this particular G20 group, whether that is South African continent, whether South American continent, American continent, European continent, Australian continent, Asian continent. Means every continent has given very important representation in this G20 group. And G20 does not have permanent secretariat. This is also important to understand. It has not basically permanent secretariat staff as other organization has, like United Nations, IMF, World Bank. All these organizations are having their very much dedicated secretariat or staff. But in case of G20, it has not any permanent secretariat or staff. And G20 presidency rotates annually among the members. Is selected from different regional groupings of the countries. And the rotating presidency was introduced. This is very important fact here to know is the rotating presidency was introduced only in 2010 when South Korea held the G20 presidency. And that was the first time while we adopted the mechanism of rotation within this basically G20 presidency. That 19 member countries are therefore divided up into 5 groups comprising a maximum of 4 countries each. Most of the groups are formed on a regional basis, that is, countries from the same region are usually put in the same group. Only group 1 and 2 are exempted from that. Exemptions are there, like group 1 is having Australia, Canada, Saudi Arabia, and US. And the group 2 is having India, Russia, South Africa, and Turkey, and which do not follow this pattern of this groupings of same region. And group 3, 4, 5 are having members of same region. Group 3 is having members like Argentina, Brazil, Mexico, and group 4 is having members like from Europe, France, Germany, Italy, UK. Group 5 is having members like China, Indonesia, Japan, Republic of Korea. The European Union, the 20th member, is not member of any of these regional groups. This is an important fact I'm sharing with you all. And why we required this G20? What is the significance of G20? That is also important to understand. G20 members represent around 85% global GDP, over 75% global trade, and 2/3 of the world's population. This is important, very important, intergovernmental forum, because G20 members contribute 79% of world's carbon emissions. This is also important, which is a very important fact to know about G20. 79% of world's carbon emissions is produced by these 19 or 20 members of G20. And this platform assumes significance in shaping the discussion on climate change. Promotes multilateralism. This is important. This is the subject we are talking about nowadays. Whereas multilateralism, where liberal institutionalism has lost credibility or credentials in this 21st century, because countries like China and other major powers have challenged the connectivity of basically international institutions like UN, WHO. Recent past, we have witnessed how countries have overpassed the regulations and the regulations of basically WHO in the case of COVID-19. This G20 is promoting basically multilateralism, again insisting in talking about this multilateralism should be there in place of global politics. Since 2011, the G20 summit has been held annually under rotating presidency. The practice of rotating the chair gives all the members a chance to shape the global agenda. And what is global agenda? Global agenda is having n number of issues within it, whether that is climate change, whether that economic issues, whether that is food security, the human security aspects are there. Global security aspects is there. Non-traditional like security is there. COVID-19, the biological weapons are rising as a threat to the global community. These are the issues we are talking about. Terrorism, bioterrorism is also a threat to global community nowadays in this 21st century. A number of overarching themes are also there within this G20 presidency. Initially, the G20 focused on broad microeconomic policies, but now it has extended beyond that. Now it has included trade, climate change, sustainable development, energy, environment, climate change, anti-corruption. All these issues are incorporated within this larger, a broader framework of this G20 themes. For example, 2021 summit decided to stop funding coal-fired power plants in poor countries by the end of 2021. How the globe is very much committed to stop carbon emission. For that, this the group is also working, dedicatedly. Like it also committed to seeking carbon neutrality by or around mid-century. This is what the plan of this G20 summit. 2021 summit endorsed the two-pillar solution to address the tax challenges arising from the digitalization of the economy. Digitalization is one of the prominent issues of this G20 group. And this is what we are experiencing in our life, day-to-day life, how our life has get changed. Nowadays, everyone is having this Paytm and UPI, phone pay, these kind of mechanisms we are having. And that has made our life very easy. And that's what being promoted by G20, summits, groups. United fight against threats like pandemics. In last 20 years, we have experienced a rise of multiple pandemics. In 2003, we had SARS. In 2021, in 2020 December, we had this COVID-19. Between these two, we had multiple pandemic rises across the globe. In March 2020, G20 leaders pledged to inject $5 trillion into global economy to reduce the economic impact of coronavirus pandemic, basically. In addition to this, they also agreed to contribute to WHO's COVID-19 Solidarity Response Fund on a voluntary basis. This is what the concern of G20 countries nowadays. And G20 countries or members have provided lots of efforts to fight against basically COVID-19. And what is the structure and function of this G20 group? G20 president steers the G20 agenda for 1 year and hosts the summit. G20 consists of two parallel tracks. That is what we have heard several times. What two different tracks are? The first track is the finance track and the second one is Sherpa track. While we started this intergovernmental panel, we had only financial track, but now we have included this Sherpa track within it, because it has considered other issues, other aspects beyond this economic aspect or financial aspect important. Like I have already mentioned climate change, food security, all these issues are equally important. And this Sherpa track very much focuses on these particular issues. And Sherpa tracks, I'm just mentioning few of the names, like for agriculture working within it, like agriculture, cultural working group, digital economy working group, education working group, energy transitions working group, health working group, trade investment working group, and so on. Many working groups are there within this larger concept of Sherpa track. And who is Sherpa of this G20, India G20 presidency? The name of that person is Amitabh Kant, ex-CEO of basically Niti Aayog. And finance track has also multiple tracks within it. That is framework working group, infrastructure working group, international financial architecture working group, sustainable finance working group, joint finance and health task force, so on. Multiple track groups are also within this finance track. And engagements group, parallel, we are having multiple engagements groups. For example, I am just mentioning here the names like Business 20, Civil 20, C20 were listening nowadays, Labor 20, Parliament 20, Science 20, SAI 20, Startup 20, Think 20, Urban 20, Women 20, Youth 20. These are the basically engagement groups within this larger umbrella of G20 summit or G20 presidency of India. And what are the major objectives of G20? To support growth and development processes across the globe, to strengthen international cooperation and international financial institutions, creation of framework for strong, sustainable, and balanced growth designed to enhance microeconomic cooperation among the G20 members. And then the question comes here. Now we get a basic idea of G20 and what is the importance of India G20 presidency, how India can gain benefit of this G20 presidency on G20 presidency. India holds the presidency of the G20 from December 1, 2022 to November 30, 2023. The G20, this is important fact I am mentioning here is logo draws inspiration from the vibrant colors of India's national flag, saffron, white, green, and blue. You can check the logo in India's G20 presidency, and it has all the colors which we are having in our national flag. It juxtaposes planet Earth with the lotus, India's national flower, and reflects growth and challenges. The Earth reflects India's pro-planet approach to life, one in perfect harmony with nature. This is what the objective of India's this G20 basically theme. Below the G20 logo, there's written Bharat, written in Devanagari script. Devanagari script you can find out within this G20 logo. Below the G20, Bharat, 2023 India. The theme of India G20 presidency, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, or one earth, one family, one future. That is the basically theme of India's G20 presidency, is drawn from the ancient Sanskrit text of Maha Upanishad. Essentially, the theme affirms the value of all life, human, animal, plant, microorganisms, and their interconnectedness on the planet Earth and the wider universe. This is what the basic theme of basically G20, India G20 presidency. See how India has considered its cultural values in this theme of India G20 presidency. The theme also spotlights life. L capital, small I, F capital, I capital, which means lifestyle for environment. We should promote, we should talk about a lifestyle, we should in the line of environment. We should be pro-environment, not against the environment, which is associated environmentally sustainable and responsible choices, both at the level of individual lifestyles as well as national development, leading to globally transformative actions, resulting in a clear, greener, and bluer future. That is the objective or theme of this India G20 presidency. For India, the G20 presidency also marks the beginning of Amrit Kal. Nowadays, we are also hearing this term Amrit Kal. We are entering basically into Amrit Kal. Next 25 years, India is going to celebrate as Amrit Kal. The 25 years period beginning from the 75th anniversary of its independence or 15th August 2022, leading up to the centenary of its independence towards futuristic, prosperous, inclusive, and developed society, distinguished by a human-centric approach at its core. That is the objective of India G20 presidency. India's focus in G20 is on emerging as a bridge between the developing and developed world and offering sustainable economic cooperation to the global south as well as the whole world through national, regional, and global institutions. Global governance also there in core of this India G20 presidency. India is talking a lot and trying to promote, trying to enhance the capability and the structure of basically global governance. Or now in this, during this India G20 presidency, it has also adopted another very new working group. This is a new group. Why I'm mentioning here, this is what the addition in basically working groups, and that is disaster risk reduction. This is what is established during the period of India G20 presidency. And yeah, India's special invited guest during this guest were like Bangladesh, Egypt, Mauritius, Netherlands, Nigeria, Oman, Singapore, Spain, UAE. All these countries were invited by India in its summits. G20 is invited international organizations where UN, IMF, World Bank, WHO, WTO means all the international institutions have become part of India's G20 presidency summits. India is also hosting more than 200 meetings in over 50 cities across 32 different work streams. That is what I already mentioned during my very beginning presentation. More than 50 cities we are planned to have meetings in India. And we are trying to promote, showcase the world, how many cities, what cultures India is having here in basically our nation. And India's G20 priorities. What are the priorities of G20 during this India G20 presidency? I'm just giving major point, green development, climate finance, and life. This is first priority of India G20 presidency. Second priority, accelerated, inclusive, and resilient growth. Third priority of India G20 presidency is accelerating progress on SDGs. Fourth priority is technological transformation and digital public infrastructure. Fifth priority, women-led development. Sixth is food security and promoting millet. And the seventh, very last, but not the least important, is multilateral institutions for the 21st century, which I've already discussed and talked. India's G20 presidency opportunities and challenges. What opportunities India is having by hosting this India G20 presidency? The G20 summit have been making persistent quest for global cooperation, alliance with India's domestic goals, such as inclusive and equitable growth, financial stability, and sustainable development. The Prime Minister of India said that they need to change the global governance, which I've already mentioned. During the India G20 presidency, there are some really intriguing anticipations originating that India would negotiate a better deal for developing countries from the developed countries in the G20 framework. And what are priorities? What are opportunities? I'm going to mention very quickly, shortly, bullet point. First is global governance is biased in favor of developed nation. This is what we have already talked at multiple platforms. India always spoke in that direction. India wants a huge reform in that, global governance. Global governance needs to be changed. That is what Indian government is going to discuss and already has started talking about in its meetings of G20 presidency. India has potential to rethink the procedures involved in global governance and to promote equity and multilateralism in international deliberations and discussions. The second opportunity India is having is focus on multiple issues like inclusive, equitable, and sustainable growth, life, which I've already mentioned, lifestyle for environment, women's empowerment, digital public infrastructure, tech-enabled development in health. This is what India government is talking about. Global food security, energy security, green hydrogen, disaster risk reduction, resilience development cooperation, fight against economic crimes. These are the issues India government is raising during its presidency term. And then the question is here, what is life? India's G20 priority is there, very much there. I have already mentioned several times life. Mission Life is about democratizing the battle against climate change. This is one of the important or prominent issue during this India G20 presidency. Individuals making the right decisions for our planet are key in the battle of our planet. This is the core of Mission Life. Climate change cannot be fought from conference tables alone. This is what happened till now. Almost all the countries talk too much about climate change, but none of the countries have shown its willingness to fight against issues raised by this climate change. It has to be fought from the dinner tables in every home. That is what the priority of this, very much life. Priority of India's G20 presidency. Thirdly, to restore global economic and financial stability in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic and the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. If I'm not mentioning this, I'm ignoring one of the important issues, Russia and Ukraine. That is what being discussed by all the member states during almost all the meetings of the India G20 presidency. These two issues were there, COVID-19 pandemic and Russia-Ukraine war. And India has mediated to reach at the level of solutions for these two very prominent issues, COVID-19 and this Russia-Ukraine war. And fourthly, climate change and what India government is talking about, brown economy into sustainable low carbon economy. India's government India government is talking about that. India has raised its voice at multiple meetings that it should be talked, it should be discussed by all the countries, whether that is developed countries, the developing countries, or any of the countries of the world should have attention on them. The fifth India, through its G20 presidency, can also demonstrate its soft or capabilities to delegates of the member states. Several articles have written by so many experts on this. This is high time to showcase our own soft power capabilities, which includes food, which includes yoga, which includes other aspects of all day-to-day life. That should be shown to basically all the members of G20. And India government is doing smartly in front of all the member states of G20. And under India leadership, the G20 nations will try to reach a consensus on a number of important issues such as following: sluggish global economy, many countries on the verge of entering a recession, a debt crisis, millions of people falling back into poverty as a result of COVID-19, climate arises, the failure of supply chains. These issues are there, and the first concern of this, sorry, I'm just skipping few of the points because I think, how much time, Sitaram, I have? Can I speak for 2 minutes? You are mute.
Yeah, you can start concluding. You have spoken yourself. In case you have to make any other important point.
No, I don't have much. But few of the points I would like to mention here: how India has opportunity for the global south, because the global south is very pertinent topic nowadays. Everyone has started talking about India's rising role in the global south, India's rising role in the geopolitics of global south. These are the issues, these are the topics nowadays we are talking about, nowadays discussing about. I'm going to mention few of the important points. Prime Minister Narendra Modi took on the mantle of G20 presidency on behalf of India during the Bali summit. He chose 4 crucial words to outline India's G20 agenda. I'm mentioning here: inclusive, ambitious, action-oriented, and decisive. These were the major outline given by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The harsh truth is that most multilateral forums still struggle in providing inclusive leadership. Much of the global south remains excluded from the key discussions shaping the global agenda. In the month of January this year, India organized the largest digital conference of leaders and ministers from the developed world, the Voice of Global South Summit. This is what happened first time, saw the participation of 125 nations and reflected at India's desire to actively engage the global south. It also represented vital opportunity to consult developing countries on their expectations from G20 under India presidency. In his inaugural address, a 2-day summit organized on the theme Unity of Voice, Unity of Purpose, Prime Minister Narendra Modi called for a global agenda of respond, recognize, respect, and reform 4R to re-energize the world. Key initiatives by our Prime Minister: abiding by the ethos of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam under the newly announced Arogya Maitri project. India would provide essential medical supplies to any developing country affected by natural disasters or humanitarian crises, connect young foreign ministry officials through a Global South Young Diplomats Forum, and institute Global South Scholarship for students from developing countries to pursue higher education in India. And G20 foreign ministers meeting, Prime Minister highlighted 5 important points. These are the concluding points I'm going to ask you. 5 major important points are: multilateralism is under strain today. This is what government of India talked about, and India wants to have a resolution of that. Voice to the global, India want to become voice of global south. This is what Prime Minister Modi have already mentioned in his speech. Geopolitical tensions should be sorted out to reach, to have basically a maximum benefit of our cooperation through multilateral organizations. And we should be prepared to fight against any kind of pandemics or rising threats which are coming to us in the days to come, and trust in collective wisdom. These are the basically important points government of India have kept in mind while organizing basically meetings or summits of basically this G20 presidency. And what are the important points I'm mentioning? here, one earth, one health. This is what government of India have talked. That's why meaning of one, this concept of recognizes that this concept trickles down to the health of humans, animals, environment. The approach first took shape in 2004 under the Manhattan Principle, which recommend an integrated and coordinated effort at human, animal, and environmental interface to prevent, detect, and respond to zoonotic diseases. Few milestones this journey has been till now is National Institute of One Health. This is what outcome of G20 summit of India G20 summit. In April 2021, ICMR organized an international symposium titled One Health in India, Research Informing Biosafety, Preparedness and Response. This is what India government is talking about. Online certificate course on One Health. India government is doing that. And this is what India government is extending towards basically all the member states of G20 presidency, or G20 summit basically. And tourism working group, I think I have to skip this. And conclusion on just 1 minute, less than one. The theme of India's G20 presidency reflects its belief in the universal principles of oneness inspired from Vedic dictum of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, meaning whole world is a single entity and must be treated as family, one earth, one family, one future. During pandemic, India has practiced its Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam philosophy by focusing on vaccine equity rather than vaccine nationalism. India, in its presidential capacity, has an opportunity to lead the world through its diplomatic capability and can lay the foundation of a new world order based on inclusive growth, global good governance, bridging the gap between developed and developing nations, becoming the voice of global south, multilateral cooperation and strengthening of global institutions. This is what India government is focusing on. This is what government wants to do basically. With these words, I'm stopping here. If there is any question, query, definitely I'll be happy to answer. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for such a enlightening lecture. You have spoken very comprehensively about what G20 is all about and in what ways India is actually contributing. Thank you so much for your time and such a fantastic analysis of the G20 and in what ways India can actually contribute, and so on and so forth. Thank you so much, sir. Now we have another speaker. May I invite Dr. Sandeep Tundurwar, who is another very important panelist of today's event, with somebody who is socially, rooted academics, a passionate activist, and he has been, in fact, part of our, various programs, various seminars. We are very delighted to have you, sir, again here in today's event. May I invite you, sir, to share your thoughts on today's topic.
धन्यवाद सर, आप सभी को प्रणाम। श्यामलाल महाविद्यालय ने मुझे और एक बार पुनश्च यहाँ पर आमंत्रित किया, इसलिए मैं पहले ही तहे दिल से पुनश्च एक बार आपका धन्यवाद करता हूँ। नैक एक्रीडेशन में आपके कॉलेज ने बहुत सराहनीय जो कार्य है वो भी किया और A++ आपके महाविद्यालय को मिला, इसलिए आपका अभिनंदन। और आज इस मौके पर जिस थीम पर हम चर्चा कर रहे हैं, सम्माननीय महाविद्यालय के प्राचार्य, आज के कार्यक्रम के कन्वेनर डॉक्टर सीताराम कुंभार सर जी और डायरेक्टर IQAC उषा तिवारी मैम, प्रोफेसर रवि नारायण कर, प्रोफेसर नीना शिरीष, हमारे मित्र और हमें अनुग्रह रहने वाले मेरे ऊपर जहाँ पर है, जिनका श्री विवेकानंद जी नरताम सर प्रोफेसर, डॉक्टर श्रीनिवास मिश्रा, डॉक्टर रेखा कौशिक, डॉक्टर दीपक कुमार, निरंजन चौहान और श्याम सुंदर प्रसाद जी, महाविद्यालय का सभी स्टाफ, यहाँ जुड़े हुए सभी प्रोफेसर, विद्वतगण और मान्यवर, मैं थोड़ा सा इस बात में, जहाँ से चर्चा शुरू हो गई, प्रोफेसर संतोष कुमार सर ने जो बात रखी, उसमें से थोड़ा सा मैं ऐड करके और मेरा जो व्यू है, मेरा जो अप्रोच है, उसको मैं आपके सामने रखना चाहता हूँ। G20 या भारत में हम हमारी अध्यक्षता के इसमर अभी पूरे 1 साल में अभी इसका दौर जो शुरू है, उसकी जो थीम है वो सबसे बड़ी मुझे महत्वपूर्ण लगती है, जिसमें वसुधैव कुटुंबकम कहा गया है। और इस थीम के अंदर में उसमें जो बात कही गई है वो सबसे ज्यादा महत्वपूर्ण है। 21वीं सदी के ही नहीं, तर आगे चलकर आने वाले सदी के लिए भी इस संदर्भ में जो थीम रखी गई है वो सबसे ज्यादा महत्वपूर्ण है। हर एक राष्ट्र को, हर एक देश को अपनी थीम के संदर्भ से चलने का पूरा अधिकार है। लेकिन हमने जो थीम चुनी है, भारत सरकार ने जो थीम चुनी है, उसकी एक विरासत को भी हमने देखना चाहिए। वसुधैव कुटुंबकम के अंदर में वन अर्थ, वन फैमिली और वन फ्यूचर की बात कह गई है। और ये सबसे ज्यादा महत्वपूर्ण है, कोविड के उपलक्ष्य पर या कोविड के पश्चात ही नहीं। अगर हमारे भारत की एक सामरिक या भारत की पूरी संस्कृति को अगर देखते हैं हम, तो हर तबके में हमें विश्व के साथ में हमने जुड़ा है। कोई भी कालखंड हो, और इसको अगर हम ध्यान से अगर देखने की कोशिश करते तो शायद हमें एक पता चलता है। ऋग्वेद की एक ऋचा में बहुत सटीक सा उदाहरण या सुंदर सा उसका एक जो है बात रखी गई है। और ऋग्वेद में कहा गया है कि संगच्छध्व संवदध्व सवो मनाशी जानताम देवा भाग यथा पूर्वे संजनाना उपासते। इसका अर्थ है कि हम सब साथ 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 चले, प्रेम पूर्वक बातचीत करें, हमारे मन शांत भाव से विचारों में लीन हो। जिस प्रकार हमारे विद्वान पूर्वज अपने अपने भाग में आने वाली धन संपदा को परस्पर सहमति और समता के आधार पर प्रसाद के रूप में ग्रहण किया करते थे, उसी प्रकार हम भी एकमत होकर अपना अपना अंश सर्ष स्वीकार करें। मुझे लगता है कि वसुधैव कुटुंबकम की जो बात है, उसकी जो नींव है, उसका जो पाया है, शायद ऋग्वेद की इस ऋचा में भी हमें दिखाई पड़ता है। बहुत सालों बाद अगर हम वहां से अगर आते हैं तो, और आज के वर्तमान तक अगर हम वहां उसको अगर लेते, तो ये भी पता चलता है। विनोबा भावे ने एक लाइन में इसको कोट करते हुए कहा है कि सब भूमि गोपाल की है। यानी पूरा विश्व जगदीश से भरा हुआ है, प्रेम से भरा हुआ है, ईश्वर से अगर भरा हुआ है, तो हमें लगता है कि वन अर्थ, वन फैमिली, वन फ्यूचर की जो संकल्पना है, वो संकल्पना को हम यानी यहाँ पर निर्माण कर सकते हैं। और यहाँ से हम अपना जो उद्देश्य है, उद्देश्य को लेकर इस संसार को अच्छी तरीके से बनाने की कोशिश भी कर सकते हैं। उस दिन को भी हम याद करना चाहिए। 11 सितंबर 1893 को शिकागो में स्वामी विवेकानंद ने अपने भाषण में कहा था, वो आर्ट पैलेस जो पूरा भरा हुआ है, 7,000 लोग हैं उसमें, और उसमें एक शिव महिन्न स्तोत्र में उस स्तोत्र का उन्होंने अपनी बात रखी थी, श्लोक रखा था। वो श्लोक के माध्यम से उन्होंने बताने की कोशिश की कि भारत किस तरह का है और भारत भी क्या चाहता है। हम विश्व के साथ जो जुड़ते हैं या विश्व को हम अपना मानते हैं, तो हमारी भावनाओं को या हमारी भावनाएं किस तरह की, इसका एक वर्णन इसमें आता है। वो शिव महिम्न स्तोत्र में स्वामी विवेकानंद कहते हैं, रुचिना वैचित्रात रुजि कुटिल नाना पथदुषाम नृणा एको गम्य तमसे पतसा अर्णव इव। वो कहते हैं कि भिन्न भिन्न उगम से निकलने वाले जल प्रवाह जिस तरह अंतिम में एक सागर को जाकर मिल जाते हैं, उसी तरह विश्व के सभी जो प्रवाह है, वो जिस तरह से आते या सीधे आते या वक्र 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 मार्ग से आते हैं, वो पूरे पथिक बनकर है प्रभु। अगर अंतिम में कहाँ मिलते हैं, तो आपको ही आकर मिल जाते हैं। मुझे लगता है कि इससे सुंदर या दूसरा जो परिपूर्ण जो वर्णन है, वो कहीं हम अगर समझने की कोशिश करते हैं, तो शायद इसमें हमें यानी दिखाई देता है कि हमारा वसुधैव कुटुंबकम की संकल्पना किस पर आधारित है और हम क्या चाहते हैं। मार्च 1949 में आज के इंदौर में विनोबा जी का एक प्रवचन हुआ था, और उस प्रवचन में उन्होंने कहा था, ईश्वर ने अगर सभी मानव को समान तरीके से उत्पन्न किया है, तो मानव मानव में विरोध या हमारे जो परस्पर हित है, वो किस तरह से हो सकते हैं। वो आगे कहते हैं कि समाज उन्नति के लिए विचार भेद तो आवश्यक है, विचार भेद अच्छे भी है, लेकिन हित विरोध नहीं रहना चाहिए। मुझे लगता है कि विश्व की जो बात हम करते हैं, विश्व की बात में सटीकता से अगर कोई बात आती है तो यही आती है कि हमारे मन में द्वेष, क्रोध या हिंसा को परे होकर हमने साथ साथ चलने की कोशिश करना चाहिए। गांधी स्टडी सर्कल और पॉलिटिकल राजनीति शास्त्र विभाग के माध्यम से ये ऑर्गेनाइज हुआ ये उपक्रम शायद उसी दिशा की पहल करने की कोशिश करता है कि हमारी जो विरासत है, वो विरासत के माध्यम से हम किस तरह भारत जो इसकी अग्रणी है या भारत अगुवाई कर रहा है, उस विचारों को हम विश्व तक किस तरह से लेके जाए। तो मुझे लगता है कि हमारी प्राचीन ग्रंथ संपदाएं या हमारे प्राचीन दार्शनिक तत्ववेता या आधुनिक दार्शनिक तत्ववेता, इन सभी के मन में विश्व को जोड़ने का जो एक सहभाग है या विश्व को जोड़ने की एक बात है, वो सभी के मन में एक तरीके से हमें दिखाई देती है। लोकमान्य तिलक का एक बहुत सुंदर सा वाक्य है, या लोकमान्य तिलक एक जगह पे बात करते हैं, क्या वसुधैव कुटुंबकम की बात जो हमने कही है, हमारे ग्रंथों ने कही है, वो साक्षात में उसका निर्माण हो सकता है क्या? तो उसका उत्तर अब गीता रहस्य में वो देते हैं, और वो कहते हैं कि कृत युग में पूरा विश्व यानी भारत की ग्रंथ संपदा ही नहीं तो पूरा विश्व आत्मज्ञानी लोगों से भरा हुआ था। वो अहिंसक था और सर्वभूत हितार्थ के लिए प्रयत्न करता था, और इसलिए वो अपना एक उदाहरण देकर वो कहना चाहते कि हाँ, कृतयुग में अगर ये बात सही है तो मुझे लगता है कि 21वीं सदी में भी हम जो आशाओं को दिख रहे हैं या आशा के साथ में चलने की कोशिश कर रहे, तो शायद वो भी फलदायी के तरफ निश्चित तौर पर जाएगी। ऐसा भी एक विश्वास हमें इन विचारों से या इन बातों से हमारे सामने आती है। दो महत्वपूर्ण अगर बिंदु को हम देखने की कोशिश करते कि हमारा अभी जो अस्तित्व है या हमें उपलब्धि की ओर अगर जाना है, तो सिर्फ क्या इकोनॉमिकल हमारी जो उन्नति है वही हमारे लिए काफी है? तो भारत का दर्शन कहता है कि इकोनॉमिकल जितनी उन्नति हमें चाहिए, उतना भी हमें स्पिरिचुअल उन्नति के भी तरफ जाना चाहिए, और हमारा पूरा रख रखाव या हमारा ठहराव जो है वो तो आध्यात्मिक है। अगर हम आध्यात्मिक के तौर पर अगर उसको देखने की कोशिश करेंगे तो शायद सभी प्रश्नों के हल निश्चित तौर पर न निकल कर सामने आएंगे। एक बात कही गई कि हमें शांति की जरूरत है, और दूसरी तरफ अगर हम देखते हैं तो हिंसा भी चरम सीमा पर पहुंचा हुआ है। विश्व के सभी काल में शायद हम लोग अगर समझने की कोशिश करते तो हिंसा अपने आप में रही है, और उसके ऊपर उत्तर भी ढूंढने की कोशिश हमेशा किए गई है। महात्मा गांधी का पूरा जो दार्शनिक है, उनका आंदोलन है, वो इसी बात को तो सजग करता है कि विश्व किसी की भी तक कौन से भी शताब्दी में क्यों न रहे, लेकिन अगर हमें चलना है, मानवता को अगर प्रस्तापित करना है, तो हम अहिंसा के माध्यम से भी इसको जोड़ने की कोशिश कर सकते हैं। रॉबर्ट हाइमर को पूछा गया था कि प्रथम द्वितीय विश्व महायुद्ध की समाप्ति की तरफ जब निकल रहा था, और जब अणुबॉम्ब की उन्होंने उसका अनुसंधान किया, अणुबॉम्ब डाला गया, फ्रांस के एक पत्रकार ने उन्हें पूछा था कि आपको सबसे क्या अच्छा लगता है? तो उन्होंने कहा था कि हाँ, मुझे संस्कृत में एक शब्द जो है वो बहुत सबसे ज्यादा प्यारा और प्रिय है। जिस इंसान की वजह से हिरोशिमा और नागासाकी ध्वस्त हो गए थे, वो आदमी कहता है कि मुझे अहिंसा नाम के शब्द ने सबसे ज्यादा झंझोड़ कर रख दिया है। तो अहिंसा की शक्ति क्या होती है? तो गांधी को भी पूछा गया शांति और अहिंसा के बारे में, तो वो भी उन्होंने वही कहा था। अहिंसा का मतलब हिंसा का अभाव होना नहीं है। तो अहिंसा का सीधा मतलब है प्रेम निर्माण करना, और प्रेम के साथ क्या आता है? तो प्रेम के साथ सत्य और करुणा की बात होती है। अगर पूरा संसार प्रेम, सत्य और करुणा से अगर भर जाता है, तो हम वसुदैव कुटुंबम की तरफ जो मुड़ने वाले हैं, जा रहे, इस प्रागतिक में कोई भी व्यवधान नहीं हो सकता। ये जो बात है उनके दार्शनिक से उसमें से आई कि जो प्रयोगशीलता की भी बात हम कर सकते हैं। आइंस्टाइन भी ये बात कहते हैं कि विश्व में जितनी भी समस्या है, उस समस्याओं को अगर हम समझाने की या दूर करने की कोशिश अगर हमें करना है, तो मुझे लगता है, यानी आइंस्टाइन कहता है कि हम गांधी मार्ग के साथ जाना चाहिए। भारत वर्तमान स्थिति में विश्व का एक अपना जो है नेतृत्व कर रहा है, एक लीडरशिप की तरफ आ रहा है। तो भारत जी की जो नींव है, उस नींव में यही कहा गया है कि हम विश्व को लेके जाएंगे, लेकिन शांति के तरफ लेके जाएंगे। गांधी को शांति के बारे में पूछा गया था, अगर आपको शांति अच्छी लगती है तो आप हिमालय में क्यों चले नहीं जाते। तो उस पत्रकार को उत्तर देते वक्त महात्मा गांधी ने कहा था कि शांति मुझे, जहां अशांत समाज है उसमें शांति प्रस्थापित करना है, जहां ऑलरेडी शांति का अस्तित्व है वहां शांति प्रस्थापित करने से कोई मतलब नहीं। तो जो ये बात है हमारे महत्वपूर्ण बिंदुओं की, कि हम एक शाश्वत विश्व को चाहते हैं, एक शाश्वत दुनिया के बारे में हम अपनी बात करते हैं, तो इस बात को हमने समझने की कोशिश करना चाहिए कि हम जिस तरीके से, जिस प्लेटफॉर्म से हम आते हैं उसमें केवल राजनीतिक विचारों का रूप नहीं है। तो ये जो विचार है आगे चलकर सहस्त्रावधि के लिए हमारा एक नेतृत्व है, वो नेतृत्व जहां से भारत की गंगोत्री निकली थी, और सामने में अगर हम देखने की कोशिश करते हैं तो भारत इस रुख को लेकर विश्व में शांति का निर्माण करने की जो कोशिश हम करने की कोशिश कर रहा है, उसके एक आधार हमें फिर दिखाई पड़ते हैं। और इसीलिए अहिंसा को अगर हम समझने की कोशिश करते तो 3 मुद्दों को हम समझने का प्रयास करना चाहिए। हमारा एक अवलोकन होना चाहिए, एक अनुभव भी होना चाहिए और प्रयोग भी होना चाहिए। अगर इस तरीके से G20 के माध्यम से हमें जो प्लेटफॉर्म मिला है और पूरे विश्व पर विस्तार के साथ में अगर लेकर जाने की अगर हम कोशिश करते हैं तो शायद विश्व में शांति का निर्माण होना असंभव नहीं है। गांधी अपनी बात 2 तरीके से और बातों में रखने की कोशिश करते और वो चाहते हैं कि अद्वैत का निर्माण होना चाहिए और अद्वैत के साथ साथ आत्म साक्षात्कार की भी संकल्पना होनी चाहिए, जिसे यूनिटी ऑफ लाइफ कहा गया है। हमारे जीवन की अगर समग्रता क्या है तो आपसी मनमुटाव को लेकर हमने खत्म करना चाहिए, जो उन्होंने अनात्म और द्वैत संकल्पना के बारे में कहा था। और अगर इस प्लेटफॉर्म के माध्यम से हम इस तरह के अद्वैत को या आत्म साक्षात्कार को आगे लेकर जाने का अगर प्रयास करते हैं तो शायद भारत का G20 का जो निर्माण है या G20 की जो थ्योरी है, सिद्धांत है, उस सिद्धांत अन्य देशों के तुलना में शायद अलग दिखेंगे और यही भारत की सर्वोत्तम कलाकृति के तौर पर हम शायद इसको देख सकेंगे। वो कहते हैं कि हम हमेशा किस तरह का विचार रखते हैं। तो गीता में जो बात आई है उनको उन्होंने कोट किया है, ये यथा मा प्रपंच दंते, इस तरह की बात कही है। हमारे विचारों में या हमारे मन में हमेशा एक द्वंद्व होता है। वो द्वंद्व इस तरह का है कि हमारे हाथों से अगर कुछ अपराध होते हैं तो हम कहने लगते कि नहीं, हमें क्षमा कर दीजिए। अगर दूसरों के हाथों से अगर कुछ होता है तो हमें कहते हैं कि नहीं, इसमें न्याय होना चाहिए। ये जो द्वंद्व है या द्वैत है उसको निकलने की कोशिश करना, यही सबसे पहले यानी अहिंसा की बात हो सकती है। आज का यूक्रेन का युद्ध लीजिए या नाइजीरिया की स्थिति लीजिए या बाकी अन्य देशों को, सूडान की स्थिति को लेते या अरब कंट्री की स्थितियों को लेते हैं, तो जहां पर जो क्राइसिस है वो क्राइसिस से उभर कर आने के लिए अगर कोई चाहिए तो हम चाहते हैं कि एक अहिंसात्मक या शांति की पहल करने वाला विचार चाहिए। दूसरी तरफ सर ने भी जो बात रखी थी कि हमारा क्लाइमेट चेंज हो रहा है और ये उपभोगवादों से जो निर्माण हो रहा है उसके भी ऊपर अगर हम देखने की कोशिश करते हैं तो भारत का दर्शन ये कहता है कि ज्यादा अगर हम अपरिग्रह करने लगे, यानी परिग्रह की संकल्पना को अगर ज्यादा से ज्यादा दूर तक खींचने की कोशिश करते तो शायद हम हमारे विश्व में जो आज की दिशा में या आज के दिन में जिस तरह से कुछ लोगों के हाथ में, मुट्ठी भर लोगों के हाथ में पूरे संसाधनों का एक जुटा हुआ है, उसको हम बाहर करने की कोशिश में शायद हमें वक्त लगेगा। लेकिन अगर हमने समझने की कोशिश की, अपरिग्रह के तरफ अगर हम जाते हैं और हमें जितना लगता है उतना ही उठाने की अगर कोशिश करते हैं तो शायद विश्व और सुंदरता से बन सकता है। मुझे लगता है कि आज के दिन का जो विषय है G20 का जो प्रेसिडेंसी हम कर रहे, उसमें वसुधैव कुटुंबकम की जो बात आती है या उसमें जो हम 1 अर्थ 1 फ्यूचर और 1 फैमिली की बात करते हैं, तो उसको उसके साथ में अगर हमें सबसे ज्यादा एक आखिरी मिनट में अगर मुझे कहना है तो मैं यही कहूंगा कि हमें इस समस्या को उभारने के लिए अगर क्या करना चाहिए तो वर्तमान संदर्भ में एक बात हम कर सकते हैं जिसे न्यूरोप्लास्टिसिटी कहा गया है। वो साइकोलॉजी के टर्मोलॉजी से आता है, लेकिन इसका सरल अर्थ ये है कि हमारे विरोधी जो मत है वो विरोधी मतों के बारे में भी हमने सहिष्णु होना चाहिए। अगर पूरे विश्व को एक साथ इस तरह से जोड़ने की कोशिश करते हैं, तो शायद भारत का G20 का जो अपना एक थीम है, अपनी एक संकल्पना है, ये संकल्पना पूरे विश्व का नेतृत्व करने में निश्चित तौर पर यशस्वी बन पाएगी, ऐसा मुझे पूरा विश्वास है। और जाते जाते मैं यहाँ पर एक बात को और यहाँ पे रखने की कोशिश करता हूँ कि जहाँ पर और स्वामी विवेकानंद ने कहा था आखिरी परिषद में 12वीं बैठक में, उन्होंने कहा था कि हमें क्या चाहिए विश्व में, तो हमें संघर्ष नहीं चाहिए, नफरत नहीं चाहिए। हमें अगर क्या करना है तो परस्परों को सहायभूत करना है, हमें विनाश नहीं चाहिए। हमें आत्मसात करो, यानी सभी को साथ लेकर चलो। कलह नहीं होनी चाहिए, मैत्री होनी चाहिए और शांति होनी चाहिए। मुझे लगता है कि G20 यही बात करता है, हमारी प्रेसिडेंसी वही बात कर रही है। और इस माध्यम से, इस प्लेटफॉर्म के माध्यम से शांति की ऐसी पहल जो स्वामी विवेकानंद के मन में, ऋग्वेद में है, विनोबा भावे के विचारों में या महात्मा गांधी के विचारों में, उन सबको एक साथ लेकर अगर चलने की कोशिश करते हैं, तो शायद G20 का अपने आप में एक पूर्णत्व की ओर हम बढ़ेंगे। और शायद अभी तक जितनी भी परिषद हुई है, कॉन्फ्रेंसेस जगह जगह पर हर एक राष्ट्र के मंच पर हुई है, उससे एक अलग, एक अमिट मुद्रा हमारे भारत के नाम से वहां पर निर्माण निश्चित तौर पर हो सकती है, ऐसे मुझे विश्वास है। और इसी विश्वास के साथ मैं अपने वाणी को यहाँ पर विराम देता हूँ। धन्यवाद, प्रणाम, जय जगत।
Thank you very much, sir. It was really a very wonderful lecture, such a uh, you know, a lecture which could capture the entire Indian philosophical, ethos about what the global order should be. It was very enlightening, sir. We know that you are the authority on the subject you spoke, and your analysis of the philosophical and knowledge traditions of India, or ontological tradition of India, is commendable. It was really very, very enlightening, sir, and it is really we are really grateful to you to share your thoughts on today's topic. Before we move on for vote of thanks, let me introduce another very, very important panelist of this event. He had other prior engagements, so he could not join early, but he's here to share his thoughts. Let me briefly introduce our next speaker, Mr. Kumar Mishra, a known commentator. You might be familiar, already familiar. He's quite visible in Indian media, electronic media. He is former additional DG, BSF. He's somebody who has extensive experience about left-wing extremism. He's a well-known security analyst, worked extensively in national security issues. He joined BSF in 1971. I think I have around 5 pages to sort of introduce him, but due to time constraints, let me skip many things, but let me also introduce to you about him some important things about him. He joined self-joined BSF in 1971 as assistant commandant. He was trained in Bangladesh War in 1971 as Mukti Bahini, joined as superintendent of police in Nadia, West Bengal, for anti extremism duty, that is anti-Naxal duty. he could contain various Naxal leaders and activities through his personal leadership and contribution. He has got appreciation from the President of India as well. He was also part of the Prime Minister's, security SPG, and he was in charge of Prime Minister inside and outside India. He also was in charge of the security of the Indian Parliament, both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. And he worked with various prime ministers, three prime ministers, including Rajiv Gandhi. So many things to say. He also was the person to introduce, CCTV in Indian Parliament for the first time. He also, received appreciation of the Speaker of India. He was also DIGBSF Nagaland, DIGBSF Manipur, DIGBSF Jammu, and he worked in the Northeast for establishing peace in the northeastern states of India. He also worked in India-Pakistan border, particularly taking in charge of fencing activities, and also in containing various terrorist operations and terrorist leaders. He was also posted at IGBSF Shillong. He also carried out border fencing activities in Indo-Bangladesh, Meghalaya border. He was also IGBSF Assam. So he is somebody who has deep knowledge about India's national security. He also is somebody who is familiar with India's, national movement, or he has wide experience about India's nation building and national security issues. So many things to say about him. He is also a regular commentator. He writes about national security issues in various newspapers and publication houses. So we are very, very delighted, and it is indeed a matter of pride for me to introduce him to all of you. And also, we are very fortunate that he could actually spare some time to share his thoughts in today's event. So, without standing, between you and PK Mishra sir, I invite him to share his thoughts on today's topic.
Thank you,
Sir?
Professor Sir. You have spoken too much about me, and I'm grateful. I was just there in Delhi University. I was giving a lecture about after effect of after abrogation of 370 and 35P. What's the situation in Kashmir? I just returned from Delhi University. I can well tell you about the G20. In fact, the India's chairmanship. It is something different than what other countries have done. This country is managing about 50 different meetings. I correct myself, 200 such meetings in 50 different cities of India. And I can well tell you, it's not only the member countries who are there. India has also invited the Bangladesh, Egypt, Mauritius, Netherlands, Nigeria, Oman, and Singapore, Spain, United Arab Emirates, and various other countries to participate in this. I will give more stress, of course. Udaipur started with the SEPA meeting where Amitabh Kanji was there. He was leading. And in fact, UK has come forward as a larger investment for India there. And then we had Mr. Sasikant Das, our RBI governor. He took it up at Gandhinagar for the next meeting, the financial meeting. But I will give stress on the meeting held at Srinagar, that is the tourism, G-20 tourism meeting, which was there in May, because I visited also in May. I was present there, and I can tell you, even though we didn't have the participation of only 4 countries, that is China, Turkey, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia, for certain reason, that's a different issue altogether. But more or less, about 37 countries were participated, another representatives of about 40 more countries, they were there. What transpired after that tourism G-20 tourism minister conference at Srinagar, I can well tell you, Srinagar, before abrogation of 370, we had stone pelting, we have the slogan shouting, we have security problem. I found absolutely no stone pelting. All the country persons, those were there, outside country representatives, they were astonished. And whatever they have learnt outside about India and of our occupation of India, Kashmir, they were astonished that things were otherwise. India did a wonderful decision of taking all the country heads to Srinagar for this particular meeting on tourism. And you know the result. There will be 20 million tourists, including 5 billion from abroad coming to Srinagar, not only to Srinagar, to many parts of India. What a thing India has done in organizing this meeting. And they have not only they kept them at Srinagar, they have taken them to other areas also adjacent to Srinagar. And the meeting went off very nicely. And I will tell you, even these 4 countries, even though their head of states were not there, but their representative took part in the discussion, and they were praising India's response to them in inviting. And I can tell you, Bangladesh went all out of praising India's tourism industry, and most of the countries have come forward that this is a country which has really looked into its promise for responsive and sustainable growth of not only Vasundhaiva Kutumbakam, but also tourism all over the world, not only in India. And we could manage this. I have seen Sudarshan Patnaik's logo of G20 on sand when he met, and it was fantastic. And this logo was also brought up in G20 meeting at Srinagar. And I'll tell you, there I spoke to a lot of representatives from various countries, those who were there. Where are those militants? Where are those radicals? Srinagar is such a beautiful place, and they were all praised for India for organizing this at Srinagar and calling them and inviting them to visit there. So India has, in fact, gained this particular G20 meeting in India. It's absolutely different than any other country. What has happened before this also, even what will happen after this, nobody can do it like India has done it. And I have seen also the education meeting which was being held at Bhubaneswar. There also I visited. But the action which India has taken as far as tourism is concerned is praiseworthy, and it has gone to the heart of all the countries, and we have clearly secured our place in the world, that what is the issue of Kashmir, and they understood Kashmir is not an issue to be discussed in the United Nations. Kashmir is a part and parcel of India, and they accepted this. And this is what India has gained. And I'm very thankful for government to have decided to take every delegate to Srinagar to attend this meeting. And not only that, with this, if I go back to Gandhinagar, where Sachin Kant Das took it up as far as the meeting of finance is concerned, the World Bank president was there, and he discussed with him about various investment. I'll tell you, the investment, forget about the investment coming to India. The investment coming to Srinagar only after tourism meeting, it has come to 75,000 crores, which will be coming to Srinagar and Jammu and Kashmir. Something surprising. We were going ahead. So far, 25,000 crores we have already spent, but now 75,000 crores with 188 investors are coming forward for Srinagar. So I'm giving stress on Srinagar. Why? That this, but we are, in fact, if India is the country which is being always spoken by these 3 and 4 countries in United Nations, that it is our force is an occupied force, we are occupying Kashmir forcibly. This thing has gone out of their mind and we have gained it. Nice of it that even in the foreign ministers meeting, Mr. Jaishankar has spoken quite a lot, and I will add this G20 meeting with that of the Goa BRICS meeting. It is connected. It happened in between that and in the BRICS also. Whatever Bilawal Bhutto, Jardari, he spoke about Kashmir, that was totally negated in our tourism meeting at Srinagar. Thanks for it. Every country, they came to know about the Pakistan and their ill motive and the proxy war, which they are doing it through Turkey and China. And in fact, practically, I am not a good speaker. In fact, I'm a security expert. I thought of sharing this, that how I enjoyed my time with all the delegates coming from abroad in Srinagar. And they took part, practically they were telling, we want to go to all the corners of Kashmir, how Kashmir was told Bhuswarg. And practically they admitted, yes, it is Bhuswarg. And that is how is the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the one which is the motto of India, which India has decided. And they agreed to this. India wants Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, and Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for such a wonderful lecture, such a energizing and enlightening lecture on contemporary developments, particularly in connection with G20 and how things are actually, transpiring in Indian polity, particularly in the context of Jammu and Kashmir that you mentioned. So it has a larger implications, as you pointed out, for national, polity and national security, and so on and so forth. Before I, so thank you so much, sir, for
many thanks. Many thanks for calling.
Coming and despite your busy, very, busy
I had to rush from the university.
Yes, sir, I understand that. So first of all, what we do is we invite some, questions from our students and participants, if any, before we move for, vote of thanks. So if you have any questions, any participants, then raise your hand so that we can unmute you and you can ask your question. Anyone? Raise your hands.
I think they are quite clear, Sitaram ji.
Yeah. Namaskar, all of you. Namaskar.
So now I invite Dr. Srinivas Mishra, my colleague, to present his vote of thanks. Before that, let me make a couple of points, and then also I must acknowledge the the contribution of Shyamlal College, particularly the
Yes.
principal, Professor Ravi Narayankar, the director of IQAC, Kusha, and then our senior teacher, Dr. Nina Siris, and all my colleagues, including the technical team of the college, and all the esteemed panelists that we have today. So thank you, my students, also for coming in such a large number despite having a vacation anyway ongoing. Anyway, so Dr. Srinivas Mishra, please.
Am I audible to everyone?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Good evening to one and all who are gathered here. On this occasion, I would like to present the vote of thanks on behalf of the Department of Political Science and Gandhi Study Circle in collaborations with IQAC of Shyamlal College. I take this opportunity to thank our esteemed guest, Professor Shantesh Kumar Singh, Dr. Sandeep Tundurwar, and Dr. Sri P.K. Mishra ji for attending this webinar despite of their busy schedules. Respected sir, we will cultivate the advice and you gave us on the eve of this G20 seminar, G20 webinars. All the words of you, sir, might have been enthralled our participant to this webinar. Thank you, sir. I extended my gratitude to the head of our institutions, Professor Ravi Narayankar. He is not only giving us precious times with us today, but also extending his constant support for this webinar. Thank you, sir. Apart from that, I will also extend my gratitude to the convener of IQAC, Professor Kusha Tiwari Madam, and convener of Gandhi Study Circle, our beloved Professor Nina Srish Madam, as well as our teacher in charge, Department of Political Science, Dr. Sitaram sir, for organizing this webinar successfully. Thank you, sir. It is my pleasure to thank all the faculty members who are joining here in general and beloved colleagues of our department in particular. They not only presented here for participating, but also guiding us in this beautiful endeavors. Thank you, everybody. A special thanks to our fellow students who are enthusiastically arranging as well as participating in these webinars. Without your support, this webinar would not be a success. So thank you to all our students. Last but not the least, I sincerely thank all the technical staffs of those who are glorifying these webinars. With these words, I'm winding up my vote of thanks. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Sitaramji.
Thank
you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.
जी,
So we
salute all of you. Salute all of you.
प्रभास सर आज डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ पॉलिटिकल साइंस गए थे, रागी सर हमारे यहाँ थे सर लेक्चर में फर्स्ट हाफ में.
Oh yes, I was